Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome back to another stream on the channel. We've got a star-studded panel tonight. We've got Locks and Ant to join us tonight. We're going to be going through, obviously, Ruud Van Nistelrooy, of course. Still hasn't actually been officially confirmed by the club, but hopefully within the next couple of days. But just quickly, boys, thoughts on the fact that he's not going to be in charge of Brentford on Saturday? We'll start off with Ant or whoever wants to kick us off.
It's not surprising, is it? We don't do anything quickly, but again, I would rather everything be done properly and take our time with it than rush it through and end up giving him sort of like a longer contract or like extra stipulations of like promises that we can't meet just to get it signed quickly. So as frustrating as it is, probably nothing to moan about, really.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It's a little bit disappointing. I think we were all getting hyped like for a bit of rude ball. Let's call it rude ball from now on. A bit of rude ball on Saturday, but it is what it is. I think we'll get onto it, I'm sure, but I think we'll still win. I just think there's a depression that has lifted on these players now, and I think they'll go for it. Play with a bit of freedom. So
yeah. 100% agree. Obviously, Ruud's not. He's going to be watching. The players are going to want to put performance in to try and get him to the team. Obviously, new manager bounce, albeit it won't be Ruud. Just like you guys have been saying, like the whole fan base have been saying, all of us on YouTube this week. It's just been completely different in terms of our feelings around Leicester. So it's going to be good to get started with finding some good tactics and whatnot, which we'll get on to discuss. Obviously, a bit later in tonight's show. Obviously, he hasn't even been officially announced yet, so we don't really have a clue of what he's going to be playing. Of too much, but I haven't actually spoke to you guys since he got appointed. So I just want to get your quick thoughts on as Ruud as a manager. Do you think we could have got anyone a bit better potentially? Obviously the other options, but I think in my opinion it's probably the best we could have got in terms of the PSR stuff and the price.
For me, I wanted Corberan as my first choice, but now we haven't got Corberan. I think Ruud's still a very, very good option, and it gives that excitement and that belief back that had just absolutely disappeared. And like, there's an identity about, you look at PSV under Ruud, there's an identity, and that's exactly what we haven't had under Cooper. So it's the first time in a long time I'm looking forward to a game at a weekend. So all positive for me.
Yeah, I think, if you talked about the safest options, I think the safest options were Moyes and Potter. From the sounds of it, Potter just didn't want it again. And maybe Moyes we did speak to, but Top decided not to. I mean, we've heard for the last few days now that Top has led this recruitment. So it's Ruud is Top's guy, the one he's handpicked. And I think it's a good thing. I mean, I keep saying this. I don't think the players like wanting Enzo ball as such. I think they just want a philosophy, and they weren't getting that under Cooper. There was no clear direction. Now they will get that. And from what I've heard, we're speaking to Man United fans. I also had a quick chat as well earlier with a Dutch guy who watched quite a bit of PSV. He said that he's a demanding guy. He gets on with his players, in the large part, but he's also very demanding, and he'll demand high. Well, he'll have high expectations for the players on and off the pitch, and that kind of coincides with what Top did this week. He's bollocks the players. And that's another reason, by the way, why I think we'll win this weekend, because I think the players have a point to prove now as well to make it up to Top, because he wasn't a happy guy. So, I just think all in all, I did read a tweet yesterday, actually, which said that when Leicester take risks on managers, that seems to be they're the appointments that work out. I mean, Ranieri was a risk because he was kind of yesterday's man. People probably thought he was finished, but we got him in, and look what happened. Enzo was a massive risk, and Ruud's the same. So yeah, we'll have to see.
100%. And in terms of his high expectations, you have high expectations of the board as well. I'm pretty sure he kind of left PSV himself after having a bit of an argument with the board at the end of his good season. Obviously, he won their equivalent of the FA Cup as well. So despite his pretty limited experience, I still think he obviously has this aura about him, but he's got good pedigree as well. And I think he's the type of manager who players will want to play under as well. Obviously, being Ruud Van Nistelrooy, the legend he is, the goals he scored in the Premier League. I think it's exciting times.
It is, and he's something that Steve Cooper didn't demand from his dressing room, which is why I think he was walked over a little bit, is Ruud Van Nistelrooy's aura and just his presence in the game demands respect, regardless of who he is as a coach. And I actually think who he is as a coach is brilliant as well. But just who he is in the game, that instantly demands respect. And I think there's a certain level of within our dressing room that they need someone who's going to have that authority, because Enzo had that about him. And like, I think Steve Cooper didn't. And you see the difference between a manager who's the manager and has that authorities in charge, and Steve Cooper, who is there trying to be everyone's best mate and almost like a substitute teacher.
100%. Right, obviously I've titled the video tactics, so I might as well get back into it. I've gone PowerPoint days. I'm trying my best a nil impression tonight to go through the tactics. But in terms of how I could see it start of setting up, it's pretty simple. It's a 4-3-3, which obviously moves a lot in terms of possession, which we'll get into. Roaringly, it's kind of similar to what Steve Cooper tried to do. But I think in terms of advancing that fullback and moving into a back three, I think someone like Ruud Van Nistelrooy is probably going to get it a bit more on tune in terms of that defensive thing. Because I think going forward, it definitely can work well. But I don't know about you guys, but I think it's quite obvious the fact that, James Justin especially, whoever was bombing on, just got left exposed defensively. So just the whole, every single time the other team attacked, it felt like.
Well, the difference is, mate, I trust Ruud to actually bloody fix it. I mean, we saw it every single game, JJ just getting left for dead. I would trust someone like Ruud because, again, I watched this video. I'm sure I think we've all watched this video now at this point. But also I watched another one with Jacob Horsfall, who released a video today. And, he was explaining that, Ruud isn't. He's a realist. I think he called him, where he's not going to. If the team isn't good enough to play a certain way, he won't just keep going at it. He won't play the same way and keep trying it. He will make tweaks and he'll adjust the mentality and maybe the system. So, yeah, I would trust Ruud more than, for example, Steve Cooper to actually make the changes that are needed. So we'll have to see. If he goes with the same way, we might see Victor Christensen being as the advanced one. We just don't know yet. But I mean, it's not a bad back line there what he had at PSV, really, is it? Especially at that level. There's not many better teams than them. Well, there's only Ajax, isn't there? So, but Branthwaite, by the way, I read a quote from Branthwaite the other day where he said about how Ruud improved him so much, and he was really good at working with defenders because he knows what defenders don't like, right? Because he's a striker. He's one of the best goal scorers, that there has been in the Premier League. So he knows exactly what defenders don't like, and I think that will help our defenders, especially, well, hopefully, but he gets fast sorted out because he's an absolute nightmare at the moment.
Yeah, and do you think Faz gets dropped on Saturday, maybe long term as well, or on the road?
I would drop him regardless on Saturday just because of his attitude against Chelsea.
Yeah.
I've genuinely never walked out of the ground just so annoyed with one player individually, because it's like players will make mistakes, but then to have the audacity to almost laugh it off, shrug your shoulders, and try and blame someone else. So I know that was under Steve Cooper, and you say new manager, new leaf, but I would drop him alone just for that, because it's like, what kind of example is that setting? But I'm still not convinced by Wout Faes. I still this is the third manager we've seen him under, and Ruud's going to be the fourth. Everyone he has looked like a liability. He looks like a liability for Belgium. So people saying it's a system thing, it's absolutely not, because you can't be a liability in every system you play and still not you be the issue. So for me, I think we stick with him until now, get to January and bring someone else in.
Definitely. It's MTV cameras. Every time a team seems to play on TV, it's a disaster, isn't it? Then when it's a 3 o'clock kickoff, he's actually, that's the thing with Faz though. He's either really bad or like half decent. There's no real in between, because when Faz is on it, I believe he is a good defender. But just like Ant says, you can't really have that sense of liability in your back line when you're trying to stay up. Anyway,
I think he'd be better as a bloody 6 sometimes. Sometimes I see him, I think, get in midfield, mate. You know what I mean? I read somewhere that apparently Enzo was going to try it this year, if he stayed, try Faz a bit further at the pitch. But yeah, I hate him. I actually hate him. I hate him, lad. I really, really don't like him.
He seems to press quite hard. Well, obviously, he's very aggressive, but he seems the type to want to play a bit advanced, doesn't he?
My thing is, it's not the fact he makes mistakes; it's it's an attitude
Yeah.
after the mistakes, and his attitude as if like, oh, I've done nothing wrong.
Yeah,
Agreed.
100%. Moving into the tactics then, just like I said, it's kind of similar to Cooper. The fullback's going to go forward, and PSV's case, I think it was Max at left back. It'll be interesting how Leicester do it. Obviously, this is how it looked in setup, so it could well be Victor Christensen on that left-hand side. It could be James Justin on that right-hand side. It kind of advances, and it forms a kind of attacking four. And then you're going to have the two behind him, whether that's Ndidi, Winks, Samoro. We don't really know. But it's going to be interesting to see. Just like Locke says, we don't know if Ruud Van Nistelrooy is going to play this way with Leicester, but based on what we know, based on his limited time in management at PSV, this could well be in it. So this is the kind of team I've gone with. This is obviously in attack. I think we can see a lot of goals for like this the whole game. We just want to get your guys' thoughts on that. I have dropped out Faz in this. My advanced fullback is Christensen in this case, but I think in terms of personnel, it's quite flexible. Obviously, we'd love to have people like Fatawu who still fit. Ricardo, I think, would work nice in this system as well. But I think based upon his tactics at PSV, this could well be kind of what the team's going to be like going forward.
I want Buonanotte off the right, and I want El Canouse in that high 8 or 10 position. That's what I want to see. I think Buonanotte would suit that right-sided that right-sided role under Ruud. Obviously, Fatawu, ideally, if we had him, you'd squeeze him in the team 100%. But I think I would like to see Buonanotte off the right and El Canouse in the team. I put forward an idea to a nil, and then I quickly backtracked of a midfield of Winks, Soumare, and El Canouse. But I thought the physicality, they're going to get absolutely bullied. So, yeah, mate, to be fair, like I think this is an improvement anyway, regardless. I'm happy with it, but I think El Canouse, we have to, with the next guy to come in, Ruud has to try and find a place for him, I think, because he is our long-term asset. He's the one that the club are probably looking at and thinking, I know we've got Hermanson at the moment, but El Canouse is probably being looked at as, right, he's going to be the one we sell for 40, 50 million in a couple of years to sustain. So, yeah, I want to see him in the team.
Yeah, I completely echo everything Locke has said. And I think with obviously Ayew, I think, again, we've seen it a lot this season so far, but I think particularly like towards, obviously, whilst we were doing all right, I think he's so much more effective coming off the bench. I think like that experience, that ability to win a foul, I think that's massive. And I think Buonanotte out on the right and then El Canouse down the middle, as you basically echoing everything Locke said. The only thing I wouldn't be against is seeing Soumare start as well, because I think he's looked one of our best midfielders under Steve Cooper, which, again, doesn't say a huge amount, but I think he's done very well so far this season.
Definitely. I think his formation is kind of like attacking philosophy does give us a lot of options. I think you're going to have Ndidi in there kind of playing that Sangare role, sitting a bit deeper. I think Winks could have a good place in the team as well, trying to could try and control the tempo of things just like it did under someone like Maresca. And that's the thing. I think a lot of these players are so used to Maresca's style. I know they keep talking about Enzo, but they're just so used to kind of that tactician and that kind of setup, the way of things playing. They want it quite structured. So I think under someone like Van Nistelrooy, especially out wide and inverting and whatnot, it does give us some flexibility going forward. I think El Canouse, is a good shout. But do you not think Ayew in terms of that experience? I know he's been good off the bench, but he has been scoring goals. I think he's level on goals with Vardy. I think it'd be hard not to get him in the team personally.
We keep saying this, that he needs to. Ayew should not be a starter, maybe a finisher, but obviously with the injury to Fatawu, it's very easy. I think he'll probably play on the weekend, for example. He's turned out to be potentially a kind of cult hero in a way, with some of the goals that he's scored. But I do have a feeling he might be one of the the victims of a new manager. I don't think Ruud will use him definitely nowhere near as much as Cooper has, but it's definitely an option to have off the bench. He'll definitely be an asset off the bench. If we need a goal, even if we're seeing out a win, I think it's important to have him around, but I don't want him to start games too much.
Yeah, that's fair. In terms of some of the screenshots sent from PSV, obviously, just like I said, they won the equivalent of the FA Cup in England. They beat Ajax in the final. on penalties. I've noticed that his wing play is quite key. They like to bring a lot of players to one side and kind of stretch it, and then that obviously opens up the space in the midfield area. Obviously, here you've got the two midfielders sitting. That could potentially be Winks, who or obviously could be Buonanotte and El Canoes. Not too sure which part of the system that is, but just like I said, it opens that space up to try and transition quickly. And I think that's what Leicester will be good at. It's kind of similar to last season. Obviously, under Maresca, we were quite wide with Steffi and Abdul out wide, and we look to try and mix things up. So I think all in all, it's quite exciting. It's definitely more exciting than Cooper, isn't it, Anne?
Yeah, and I don't want to keep bashing Cooper because I've said for the longest time I don't think he should have been here in the first place. But it's just the fact that there's an idea and something to get behind, which, like, that's the big thing I wanted to see from Steve Cooper, is just something to get behind, an idea, his own philosophy. And the only time that they looked like any resemblance of a plan was when he was copying Enzo Maresca's tactics to a very poor level, by the way. So that's what I'm most excited about. The fact there's going to be a plan. It's going to be Ruud's way, not just sort of asking about what the previous manager did and do a really poor knockoff of it.
Yeah. 100%. Such a shame we weren't for Fatah this season. 100%. I think he would have been perfect in this system. We all know how good of a player he is. Anyway, a comment on Will Alves and Michael Gold. I don't know about you guys. I don't know what Ruud is really like with the younger players, but do you think there could be a role for them in the first team? I know me and Ant spoke about Alves for quite a while the other week in terms of a loan. Do you think that could maybe change now under someone different?
I think we'll definitely, because we all know it was a whole myth, Cooper and the youth players. I mean, he didn't even bloody play him in pre-season, for crying out loud. So I think he will look. I mean, his whole managerial, the majority of his managerial career so far, he spent a lot of it at the PSV youth team, and then obviously he went to PSV where he was bringing through young players. So I think he will be looking at that academy, and you can imagine him as the type of manager. On his days off, he'll be straight down to Seagrave watching the academy games, keeping a close eye on them as well, seeing what impact they could make coming in. He'll be told anyway. He'll be fully aware already now, probably in the whole negotiations or introduction to the job. He's probably been told about the young players that we have at our disposal. Will Alves, for example, even Casey McAteer, obviously, is a little bit older, but and then maybe even younger, Jerry Monger, which we keep talking about. He'll be aware of all these players, so I think he'll definitely look to integrate them into the squad a bit more than what Enzo did, and definitely a bit more than what Steve Cooper did.
Yeah. Then again, though, obviously there's this whole talk about us, spending big in January. Do you think we could see, hopefully, if Alves isn't going to get any game time, do you think there will be a loan move in terms of January just to free up some more space in the squad? Because by the sounds of it, I'm expecting quite a few arrivals in the next month or so.
Well, he has to. We had this conversation in quite a lot of detail last week. But if he's not playing football for us, he needs to go and play for someone else, because there's only so much development he is going to do in the under 23s. So he needs to go and play men's football, whether that's on loan or for us. But in terms of January, you say we're going to make quite a few signings. I've seen we've got a decent amount of money to make. Do you reckon that's going to be we sign one or two real key players that are going to make an instant impact, or do you think we spend that across the squad? Because for me, I think we spend it on one or two players.
Go on, lads.
You know what I would do if I was Ruud Van Nistelrooy on the 1st of January at midnight? I would send Edouard straight back to Crystal Palace, and I would bring Tom Cannon straight back from Stoke. No, we can't sign Ferguson because we've got Buonanotte, and you can't sign two players.
You've got two. Oh, is it? Yeah.
I would bring Tom Cannon straight back, mate. Honestly, I would. I think he's a better option to have anyway than Edouard. Edouard, I'm sure. There's a goal scorer in there. We've seen it in Scotland, but is scoring in Scotland any more impressive than scoring in the Championship? I don't think it bloody is. I think it's probably similar levels. So maybe even Championship might even be better. So I'd bring Cannon back. Being highly spoken of, the Stoke fans will want him. That's a positive sign. Bring him back. Have him as an option. And then you've got Daka, you've got Vardy, and you've got Cannon. And I don't want to, I might be wearing the blue tinted glasses a bit too much here, but I think those three options are enough. And then I think we look at the rest of the squad. I honestly do. I think Vardy, Daka, Cannon is enough for this season. And then you have to look at, I mean, we need a right winger. We have to have a right winger. We need to buy a right winger. I think we're desperate for that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think we do go big in terms of just a few players because it all depends on Van Nistelrooy though, sure, because the team we have isn't too bad, but it depends on the personnel, the individual positions. Obviously, we're not too sure what system he is going to play yet, so it obviously depends upon that. But I think if Leicester can go big, get a few, I don't know, maybe I would edge towards the experience side just to try and keep us up, but then again, you don't want to be spending too much on experienced players, and we're going to be back into the same situation of trying to resell them and losing out on money. So it is that tough mix. But yeah, I think Cannon definitely. If he could have got Ferguson on loan, I'd take him because Van Nistelrooy does like to play with a taller striker normally. So I think that could work to our favour. But yeah, anywhere else, I think maybe a centre back and a full back as well, maybe.
You know, if I was Ruud, because he's worked with him over the last few months, I would be straight at trying to get Harry Maguire to come back to Leicester. Because he's not going to get in Ruben Amorim's plans. An experience, you'd talk about face locks, but he walks straight.
No, I agree.
He walks straight into this team.
That's a good shout.
And he's not going to play, is he, for United? If we're honest, apart from like Conference League or is it Europa League, whatever they're in.
Yeah. No, I think
I hear you.
Experience, isn't it? No, I don't think it's a bad shot because I think despite the stick Faz is getting, I think Akoli, despite his first 2 games being quite well, I think in the last few weeks he has been a bit poor results. So I think a centre back's needed. I think Vestergaard's going to be probably straight back into the side as well. I think Van Nistelrooy is the type of manager to like him in terms of his ball playing ability as well. So. Yeah, I think we are going to see wholesale changes across some areas of the team, especially at the back. But
get Evans back as well while we're at it.
No, he'll be injured by the time he comes down. He'll be injured by the time
he'll play for Northern Ireland, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's sign Evans. Let's sign Maguire. Let's sign Chilwell. Get Richie Delat's boots. Get Delat back, mate. Why not? I saw Schlupp's available. I actually did read that Jeffrey Schlupp is available. In January, actually, I did read that. So, yeah,
radio of Crystal Palace at this. Really. Moving things on though, obviously, there's been a lot said about. I've read a few articles today about Ruud Van Nistelrooy and his kind of defensive structures, and he's a very defensive-minded manager. At PSV, he obviously set up in a 4-4-2 block, which is pretty basic for most teams in the Premier League. Something which is going to be quite easy for the players to obviously understand. So. I think that's obviously a positive. Obviously, it's man-to-man, just like that, trying to restrict any press. And I think at times, obviously, the rest of this season, won't play your Man, or maybe not Man City right now, but your Liverpools, your top 6 teams, your traditional top 6 teams, we are going to have to sit deep. And I think Van Nistelrooy is a type of manager to realise that. It's a fine balance, isn't it, between obviously trying to express yourself beyond that front foot, play that passing football, which I think all of us in the panel do enjoy watching us, but I think then again, you have got to be quite wary of the threat in the Premier League and be able to sit back. And I think, I don't know about you guys, but I think Van Nistelrooy is going to be quite adept at trying to find that balance.
From what I've heard, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to have watched loads of PSV, but he plays to his players' strengths. Like he's got his own idea, but he's not going to go gun-ho with it at the expense of the team. So I think from what I've heard, he plays to the team's strengths and hopefully over the course of time, and he's here for a few years, we can start to see his ideas more and more. But I think as of right now, it's just like it's baby steps, isn't it? We don't need to go gun-ho with anything.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, mate. Yeah, I'd agree. I think at the end of the day, it's this is why we've done it this early as well. This is a part of the reason. I think he's not got the luxury that Enzo Maresca had with regards to like a whole preseason, and he's also not got the same luxury with being the best team in the league, which Enzo had. So he's under a little bit more pressure than Maresca did have, and to implement his style. And I actually said to Anil earlier in our stream that I think he's going to actually start off quite safe. I think he's not going to implement too much too early. He won't be that intense like we know Enzo is and was. I think he'll start safe, make some slight changes, make sure that we're a bit more structured defensively. And then in January, hopefully he can bring in his own twist, his own type of players to help with the transition to football he wants to play, basically.
Yeah, 100%. It's the same at Man United, really, isn't it? Kind of that interim role until January. Didn't change much there. Got results, albeit 2 against us, which went hard at the time. But yeah, the same little changes, and that's the thing. It's just a fresh face in there, someone different. It's quite obvious that the players, some of them obviously didn't really want to play under someone like Steve Cooper. So I think we'll see a massive improvement, albeit not too much in the style. Obviously, in terms of the team which I went with on a few slides ago, that's how it will look kind of defensively. Obviously, the 4-4-2 system. You could have Buonanotte, obviously, alongside Vardy to lead the press, but personnel, we'll have to wait and see. On that front, but yeah, that's Van Nistelrooy's tactics kind of sums up quite quickly. Obviously, I'm not going to go too in-depth into it because obviously we don't really know. That's his stats at PSV. Obviously, quite impressive. 50 games, won 34. Drew 8 and lost 8. So yeah, not too bad. What?
Sorry. If you've got WhatsApp, Josh, you can open your WhatsApp. Sorry, mate. I sent something to Ant and he just reacted awfully. So I thought
you were laughing at me then. I thought something dodgy came up.
Sorry, mate. No, it's me being unprofessional. I sent something to both of you. I didn't expect Ant to see it until after the stream. That's why I did it. Yeah.
Proper confused with it. Started laughing.
Sorry, man.
I was more confused. Professionals always. It's what we love in the Leicester community.
Yeah.
What was I going to say now? Brentford on
Sorry,
Saturday,
mate.
Lads. Brentford on Saturday. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier. What are we thinking? It's very hard to really call it, isn't it? Brentford are a good team at home, obviously, but part of me thinks we can actually get something.
3-1 win.
3-1.
3-1. The pressure is lifted. The players will play with freedom. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, mate. Like I said, Top is absolutely bollocks these players. They've got a point to prove. They need to, let's apologise to Top on the pitch. Make it seem like the right decision. To get rid of Cooper, and we could see a completely different Leicester. I think. I mean, but I probably am being a bit biased, but yeah, that's what I see happening, mate. 3-1 Leicester win.
That's right. And you got a prediction for us? Another win?
Yeah. I went for a draw the other day, but the more this week's going on, I'm feeling more and more optimistic and more positive. So I'm going to go 2-1. I think we're going to take the game to them, and really, like as you said, the depression's gone.
Yeah. You know what? Screw it. We'll go 3-0 Leicester. I'll get my blue tinted glasses on. And we'll beat West Ham the week after. But I think more interesting is obviously going to be that West Ham game. But that's the thing. If we can get some on Saturday, West Ham on Tuesday, it's a winnable game at home, things start to look up immediately. And that's the thing. It's not like Leicester reported Van Nistelrooy when we're rock bottom, 5 points adrift. A few wins and we're going to be looking upwards. I know, we're 16th somehow, but I think, a few wins over this Christmas period and we are looking in a good position. But then again, it can go the other way. So let's try not to get too ahead of ourselves. But it's looking up, isn't it, lads?
It is indeed, mate. It is indeed. To be fair, lads, it's all downhill from it. I mean, sacking Cooper was the pinnacle. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the moment. That was the best day of the season. It's all downhill from it. So yeah, let's just ride the wave. Let's ride the wave.
Well, it is a Leicester City way, isn't it? So we'll have to see what comes up next. But, thank you for joining me tonight, boys. I'm going to wrap it up here for just about half an hour, which is the usual time for the streams. And you want to tell everyone where you can find you at? I'll put your link in the title as well.
So Ant's Leicester fan channel for daily streams, and again back with the home and away match day vlogs as well.
Good stuff. Locks, blue tinted glasses.
Yes, mate. Yeah. Blue tinted glasses. Lots of different stuff. I was actually going to ask. I was going to ask you, Josh, about something to get you on actually. So I'll speak to you afterwards. But yeah, Josh is always there. Ant's always there. Everyone's always there. So make sure to subscribe.
Good stuff, lads. Thank you for joining me. I'm sure I'll get you on in a couple of weeks' time, probably talking about a load of wins under Ruud Van Nistelrooy, playing his sexiest football with the turtlenecks on, all of that. So, I'll see you boys then. Make sure everyone in the stream, make sure to go and drop a like, subscribe to everyone's channels. Let me know thoughts in the comments if you're watching back on playback. And, hopefully a win on Saturday to kind of begin the Ruud Van Nistelrooy era, but then on Tuesday to really kick it off with a big one. So, boys, I'll see you then. Stay safe and up the Leicester.